Yeah, so we're going to be working in groups of 3 to 4 people, so kind of 2 groups per table with flip chart paper on the table, and some of the groups are going to use the white wall that we've got over there. And we will be using some software at certain points, but 1 laptop per group, please. You know, we don't want kind of 8 laptops. We won't be able to see each other. I think the air conditioning will give out as well, so 1 laptop per person. Okay, so let's get started. What this is all about is, I've had a concern for actually many years that System Dynamics projects take too long, cost too much, are pretty uncertain in terms of their outcome, and you don't get the benefit until the project is finished, and only experts can do it. Right? And that's kind of unacceptable if we want to promote this method and get it used everywhere it should be. So what we need is a procedure that is relatively defined, relatively straightforward, that anybody can follow, so that even relative beginners can do something useful quite quickly and not have to wait until year 4 of their PhD. Right? So we'd like to be able to do something quite useful quite fast, and that's what this is all about. Now, to crack that, I'm reflecting on the way I work with groups, but also going back to the real deep fundamentals of what this method actually is. And that'll become clear as we get started. But we do start in the same place. And the same place where we start is we start with a time chart of something that is changing. It has some history, and it has a bad future, and it has a future we would prefer. The red and green could be the other way around if you want less of something rather than more. If this is profit, we like more of it. If it's problems, we'd rather have fewer of them. Right? So, the red and green could be the other way around. The charts would be a different shape. But critically to this, there is a scale along there. Right? This is not a data-free chart. It has a scale. Is this 2010 to 2020? Is it January to February? January to December? Is it week 1 to week 24? Week 1, 10, but it's got a time scale on it, and we're clear what the time scale is, and it has a value scale up the side. Is it dollars? Is it people? Is it problems per period or whatever? Per period. So there is a scale that defines the problem, and that's where we start. So let's get right into this. What we'd like you to do is divide the table into, not the table, but the people sitting at the table, into 2 groups, and talk amongst yourselves. And I really don't want this to take more than 15 minutes if we can possibly help it. We want to find one of your group who has got a problem they understand well and can draw that chart. Now, if someone says, I've got a problem I understand well, really kind of quiz them and make sure they do understand it well, because we're going to be asking them to make at least estimated quantifications of the rest of the system, okay? So it's not enough to say, you know, I've got an error rate coming out of my factory and it's going like this, and I quite like it to keep on going down. How many machines have you got? Well, I don't know. How many workers have you got? I don't know. How many products do you make? I don't know. Right? That's no use, right? Whoever you choose has got to understand the issue. It could be an issue of their own, or it could be an issue of some situation that they know quite well, but they must know it, okay? Yes. So, 15 minutes, find that person, draw that chart on the flip chart, except if I could ask the groups on this half of these tables to use the whiteboard.
You have an idea?
I think we're going to do 3-3.
Okay.
Right, you're all going around.
So you 3 and I 3.
I have an idea, but
Okay. Thank you. Right. Right. We're going to need to pay attention for short periods of time, and then you can be as noisy as you like again afterwards, right? So let's have a look at some of these on the wall we've got over here. If you haven't actually quite done this yet, you can do it at the beginning of the next piece anyway. So let's start with that one there. What's that? Who is the problem owner here?
I am.
Henry.
Yes.
Tell us all about it.
This is the number of students in private university, particularly KCA in Kenya.
Huh?
The number of students have been going down from the time that we started offering degrees. That was around 2005. Now in 2014, the numbers have completely gone down. And they're still going down. But we hope that they will go up one time.
Okay, right. Well, that's a nice, clear objective. That's numbers of students in the university was going up, started to come down, a bit worried about this, and would like it to go up again. Simple enough, everyone? Okay with that? Yeah. Okay. And that's the number of students in the university at any time. That's not the number of applicants.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Cool. Let's have a look at what's that over there. I've got 4 different lines on there, and none of them have got any numbers on. What's going on?
Oh, come on, guys.
Who's the problem owner? Who knows it? Robert. Okay. Can you select one of those lines and tell us what it's about?
Interconnected.
I'm sure they're interconnected. That's what we're going to do, right? But what we want to know is what's the thing that's worrying
on the education system in a university, that we have an increasing number of students, not so increasing amount of resources, high increasing number of pressure on the system, and downward-looking quality of education.
Okay, so this is another student thing, and it's kind of the same as that, but the problem is perhaps different. Right, okay. Right, now we want one chart, one variable, with numbers. Okay?
We got it.
Okay, we got it.
Okay. However, the other charts that are up there will be useful because you will need to connect them to the rest of the thing. So that's okay. Let's have a look at something. What's this one?
It's ours.
Okay. Whose is this?
I'm the owner of the.
Livia, come on, tell us all about it.
We have a volunteer and web platform, and there is a number of volunteers now, and we have a goal to increase. But if nothing is done, it will decrease by the half that I have now, and that's not the
Okay, it looks from that as though it's already decreasing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what's got you worried.
Yes.
All right, and you'd rather have more volunteers. Volunteers to do what? What they do?
This is helping in homework.
Helping with homework.
Yes, so you have a number of tasks that increase every month, or
Right.
like every day, and then by month. And we have to have more volunteers to have average number of tasks solved by month. But if nothing's done, it will decrease the number, and then I will have.
So are these volunteers helping the students?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Very good. Okay. How about something a little bit more kind of industrial? Have we got anything industrial here? Yeah, Rob.
So, I'm the IT manager of a company, and we've been delivering medium and large size projects, and the last couple of years it's actually shrunk a lot. And what has happened is that business has started putting this type of work to external vendors because we can't deliver.
Okay.
And these external vendors start to, when they're finished, basically, in a lot of cases, business comes back and say, now you have to integrate. So it actually strikes down our schedules and comes in with overcapacity. We are at maximum capacity already. And trust has gone down, so we identified trust as one of the issues why business does this.
Okay.
We need to get a handle of it, so we need to have business stop using these external vendors for some of the projects. They can do it for some things, which doesn't need extensive integration.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, good. And you would like that number. So are these projects all kind of typically similar-ish in scale, or are we talking about lots of little ones and some very big
These
ones?
are medium and large scale,
Okay.
but even large scale differs, so it can be few hundred to 400, 500 people.
Oh, okay. So these are very, very labour-intensive. Okay, one more example. How about some, yeah.
We've got a social economic problem. In London, we've got what essentially is very short-term accommodation.
Involved in funny place like that.
Not the terrorist idea. So, very short accommodation like B&Bs, hotels. So we had a national policy that would limit the amount of money landlords could have per families that are homeless. So that was limited to £2,000. So what we had was very short accommodation fluctuating around 200 families, any given point, and then it jumped through the roof to about 2,000 within 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And now the problem is, how do we get that back down again? So the local authority is paying something like £8,000 per family to B&Bs, rather than 400 or 500.
Ah, so this scale is numbers of families.
That's correct, yeah.
Right. And this is numbers of families who are in
Very short-term accommodation.
because they can't get into long-term accommodation because the landlords have.
Chucking them out because you could have, say, 6 bedrooms in one house, so therefore originally you could have £600 per family, times that by 6, you make it 3,000. But the landlord is now limited to, say, 2,000
Right.
as a national policy,
Yeah.
so therefore all these landlords within 1 month or 3 months or 6 months basically chucked all these families out on the street. And so, because you can't have homeless people or homeless families, the local authority then have to put them into short-term accommodation. So, we're basically paying astronomical figures to keep people off the street. Well, families off the street. So.
Where do they, Boris?
Oh, clever. That sounds difficult. That sounds really difficult. Okay, good. All right, well, we've seen a nice variety of different cases. We won't go around them all, but look at those other different cases again later. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly take you through what the process is, and then actually get you to start on the process for your own projects. I'll just summarise the presentation I gave for those who weren't there. This is if you read the books and the articles in our field, it's not completely explicit, but the kind of process they recommend you go through is define the scope of the problem and everything that might be involved in that problem. Its boundaries, what the variables are, and yeah, do one of these charts, right? That's the reference version. Then it says, get everybody involved and develop a causal loop diagram of everything that might be affecting everything else, and look for all feedback loops in that, and just make sure you've covered everything. Right? Then, this is the tricky bit, have a look at this causal loop diagram and see if you can figure out what these things called stocks are in it. It's accumulating things, and add those to this diagram, make the stocks explicit. Then go and find data, put this into software, put formulations in the software, work out what relationships are. Then get the thing working, validate it against the data that you've got about the situation, and down there at the end of that, you get the insights and decide on what your response is going to be. That process is largely qualitative. You consult widely, you try and scope the whole of the system, and your aim is to end up with a shared mental model that everyone's agreed with. Okay? And if you read the articles in our review, if you read the articles that are submitted to the conference, it seems that this is what people try to do. That's, you read the articles, they say, you know, this was the problem we set out to solve, this is what we did, this is the model we ended up with, and here's what we found. There are variations on this, which I won't go into now, but you can read them in our literature. The problems with this are it takes too long, it costs too much, in particular time. It's not just a matter of money, it's time. Getting the time from all the people who are involved is kind of very, very difficult and costly. And that's actually one of the reasons why it takes too long, because you can't get everyone's diary. If you get benefits, they're pretty uncertain. You don't know what benefits you're going to get back here, and you only know what benefits you've got when you get to the end, and that's quite late. As I said, the problem is that only experts can do it. I've been trying to teach people to do this for 20 years, and it's deeply frustrating because after a week of intense tuition, they can't do it. And they get stuck here. And when you draw the feedback loop, they say, oh yeah, I get that. Then you hand the pen over and walk out of the room, come back an hour later, and they just put nonsense on it. People can't do it. It's not because they're stupid. It is genuinely a difficult thing to do. The only people who can do this well are the people who already know how to do everything else. So you have to be an expert to do a simple thing that we need to do itself. So there are two complementary solutions that I'm looking at to this. One is this one, and the other one is to start from standard structures. Okay. So we've got two situations here with students in a university or college setting. Right. Well, a university is a university is a university, a college, college, college. They are basically the same structure. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about TU Delft or some college in Kenya or Tokyo or whatever. So there are lots of standard situation structures that we should just be starting from. But by all means, adapt them and change them. But don't try and reinvent the wheel every time you try and crack the problem that other people have cracked 100 times before. So I said that we were going to build on the fundamental principles of our method. I'm very serious about this. We understate how powerful system dynamics is and why. Okay. And I should say this is not limited to system dynamics. What I'm about to say is equally true of agent-based modeling and discrete event simulation. Okay, that we all do this. It's just that they do it in different ways for different kinds of problems. All of us are interested in explaining and improving performance over time. These charts, right? We all want to do that. And here's the theory. This is the theory that underlies our field. Whatever that measure of performance is, if you freeze time, it will be caused by the current quantity of stocks. Okay? Unless the thing you're trying to improve is itself the stock. So what do I mean by that? Your pressure on the system in your university depends on the number of students and the number of faculty and physical assets that are available to accommodate those students, right? Those are stocks. Students are a stock, faculty is a stock, lecture theatres is a stock, right? So that's what those are. In your case, you've chosen an indicator, students, which is itself a stock, right? So at any point in time, stocks determine performance. Now that's really helpful because the only way that a stock can change is if something flows in or flows out. If you don't have things flowing in or out, the stock can't change. If the stock doesn't change, then the performance doesn't change. Everything else outside of you. So flow rates are critical. And I'll just say, in any model you build, you put a big red ring around every flow. Right? It's the flows that control the system. Students enrolling, students graduating, students dropping out, new families becoming homeless, families moving from being homeless to being in your temporary accommodation, families moving from the short-term accommodation into long-term accommodation. It's the movement, it's the flows, the movement of stuff from one state to another that actually changes the performance. So now we want to explain the flows, and I've done hundreds of projects, right? My students have done thousands of projects more. In all of those cases, I can only find 3 categories of thing that determine what the flow rate is going to be. Thing number 1 is our decisions. I decide to hire faculty. Right? I decide to ask for a number of additional housing units, right? I decide that. I decide how many staff to hire. I decide how many products to launch. I decide how much extra road to build. They're just our decisions. The second thing is external factors, right? And there is a kind of theme in our field, which is you've got to try and explain everything with a self-contained feedback system. Well, out in the real world, stuff does happen that is not part of your system that does affect you. Right? So there are external factors. If some other university just opened up down the road from Henry's University, and that's the reason that the students are not coming to him than they were before, that's somebody else's decision to open another university. It's not his system. Right? It's an external factor. Then the third category is existing stocks. So if a stock is going to change, one of the things that could change it, that could make the flow happen, the flow is caused by existing quantities of stocks. Now, that is our theory. That last little bit is where the feedback comes from. Feedback is a stock driving its own flow. There is no exception to that. That is what feedback is. It might go through other stocks on the way, right? But feedback is that the rate of change in students enrolling is driven by the students who are already there. The number of families is driven, sorry, the number of new families becoming homeless is influenced by the number of families already homeless. That's what feedback is. So if we follow those principles, we can go through, we can actually get something to answer some of these questions. And this is going to look really, really trivial because it's a really simple case, because that's what we need at this stage. We can get more complicated about it later. This is an IT support firm losing clients. It's a mid-sized firm doing IT projects for mid-sized clients. We're not talking about building IT systems for Shell or something here. We're talking about, well, maybe IT support for local hotels, law firms, garages, whatever. So they drew this chart, right? And the chart over there on the right is the number of problems per month per client. And the sharp eyed amongst you will have spotted that I've broken my own rule there, and I have to put a number on that scale, which I should have done, right? It actually goes up to about 3. So that's 3 significant problems logged by clients per month. So the 24 months, that's the history, and our fear is it's going to get worse. This is what's happened to the stock of clients. It started at 90, it grew to 135, and that's coming down again. And our fear is it's going to get worse. So this is a project done by an executive student of mine, and he was actually advising this company. And he went to see the guy and he said, oh, your customer, you say customer problems are increasing and client numbers are falling, that's developed over 2 years. Can you explain what's happened and sketch a chart? Right, so just like you've done, that's where we started. And here's the story I just told you. The extra bit is that when those problems arise, staff who would otherwise be doing something else have got to go and fix those problems instead. So the worse it gets, the worse it gets. So there you go, principle number 1. What we're trying to do is improve performance of something over time. So here we go, now you ask the question, this is the thing we're trying to fix. What causes it? Okay? And you simply work back through item to item to item until you hit a stop. One or more stops. So where did this problem rate come from? It came from the fact that the work pressure on our staff increased. And this is taken from their timesheets and overtime records. So this is 60% more work than that number of staff could do in normal working hours. So if we had these people doing normal working hours, they would cover that. But the number of staff was rising and now it's falling. So we're going from that time chart to that time chart to that one, and oh look, this one's a stock. Yeah? This one's a stock. But that also reflects the amount of work. It's not just the capacity to do the work, it's also the work that that capacity has to deal with. So we've got, this time chart is actually showing both the workload from the clients and the capacity of the staff to do it. So I've just kind of collapsed those two together. But that work pressure comes from that gap, which comes from that and that. Okay? Everyone with me? So that's step 2. Performance at any moment in time, that number results from that number, and that number arises from that number and that number. And what we're looking for is we're looking for as simple as possible relationships between these things. Right? So that is problem. But this thing here is hours worked versus normal hours available. This thing here is clients multiplied by workload per client. Right? We're not having anything abstract on these diagrams. Every item on the diagram should be something that the problem owner recognizes. So let's get a working model. And there's a working model, which is exactly what they just saw on the whiteboard, right? It's that's their stuff. Later on, we're going to introduce you to the software to actually do this. And we've developed this software specifically because the other softwares in the field are too difficult to use and they can't easily do this. You can do it, and if you want to later on do this in iThink or Kaizen or Benson, that's absolutely fine by us. You don't have to use our software. But for those of you who aren't kind of very software adept, you can use ours for free to do this. Okay, so there is a model doing the same thing. And look, we've got red lines on there, which is their data. And we've got blue lines, which is our model matching their data. Quite cheap on this, but to make it match quite slowly. Not much. Oh, by the way, clients are terribly impressed when you show them wibbly lines that match their wibbly lines. So then we say, okay, so what caused the stocks to change like this? And what causes stocks to change? The flows. Yeah. So we simply add those to the diagram. This is exactly the same diagram as before. What we've done is we've stuck a flow on the front and the back of the clients and a flow on the front and the back of the staff. And again, hand the client the pen and say, fill in the numbers. Fill in the time chart, please. Right? There's nothing here that has not got numbers on it, has not got time charts. You might have constants there, okay, like number of hours per person per month is a certain number, so just put that in as a number. But everything that changes over time, you must put a time chart on. Okay, so let's extend the working model. There we go, it's exactly the same. All that's happened is that I've added the flow rates to the model, and it shows that client number up there started rising because we went out and won more clients. It started coming down because the loss rate started rising and the win rate has dropped. And the staff numbers, we've been hiring steadily at about 2 a month but the loss rate was pretty low, and it's risen to, I think, about 5 at its peak, 5 people per month now. So what caused those flow rates? Well, here we go. There's the stock of clients. This is the number of clients won. That's the number of clients lost. It was 128. It changed to 121. That was 1. So that must have been 8. It can't be anything else. Those numbers have got to reconcile. There's no other possibility. So we want to know what caused 1 client per month to be won. So it's our decision. We will go out and try and find 5 clients. External factors, not relevant here. Existing stocks, we've already got more clients than we can handle. We haven't got enough staff, so I try to find 5 clients, but I only managed to find 1. What caused the 8 clients to leave? Not our decision. We don't want any clients to leave, but they did anyway. External factors, no. Existing stocks, too many clients for the number of staff we've got. So there's the factor. This diagram is exactly the same as the one before. All I've done is I've said this was the dependent variable I started with. I wanted to explain that. I've explained it with these 2 stocks. I now say my dependent variable now is that flow rate. What caused that flow rate? Well, that stock and that stock. Okay, so you just drill, you move the focus from the problem that you're trying to fix. You explain that with the stocks. So you say, I now need to explain the stocks, which is called kind of flows. That is now the next thing I need to explain. And you simply keep on going around that until you finish, right? So this, as I say, is about as simple as you can get, but it does get more complicated. And let's stick that into the software, and now we can start actually exploring some options here. So this option is, what if we were to discontinue some of our most difficult to serve customers, just help them find support from somebody else? Right. So you immediately take the work pressure away over there, which means that the problems go away because your staff have now got enough time to do the work properly. The client loss rate collapses, and after a little while, clients start increasing again. But you need to increase your hiring at the same time to fill up the stock as possible. So, does everyone get the idea? Now, if I go right back up to here, this is already useful information for the client. We've been going for about half an hour. We're already, well, we're helping them find useful information they've already got. The useful information is that that problem rate over there is caused by that combination of changes to the start of the class. It's already useful. Half an hour we've been going. That is already useful. The reason that those clients have changed like that is because of those particular things happening to those flow rates. Not any other reason. It's not any other combination of numbers. It's those numbers. Sometimes we have cases where the explanation is really fundamentally useful and unexpected, even at that stage. We have one case where where a client's sales were going down, and they were just doing more marketing to get more people to buy their product. Okay, but when we put that picture on the board, it was patently obvious that their problem was nothing to do with winning new customers. It was that they were losing customers that they hadn't actually recognised, and the customers they were losing were buying less than the ones they were winning. Right, so that's 4 charts in an hour, and that's 2 pieces of information they didn't know before, or immediately. So what we'd like you to do, it's very hot in here, so we'll definitely have a break before long. what we'd like you to do is replicate this, please. Do the same process on these diagrams. Now, what you're going to have to do is, if you're working on paper, you're going to have to turn the paper over or find other paper. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to put the problem chart on the right and work back to the left. Generally seems to be how it works best. You guys will have to rub out your beautifully drawn chart, draw it smaller, and work back over to the left. Yeah, all right. Everyone, see what we're trying to do. So we need 5, yeah? So is that right? And there we need to have 2, so we're now at 22 minus 2, so we need to avoid 5 in that unit as well. Yeah?
And that's for the basic personality.
I talked to this guy and can you help me? I can't help you, or I can help you. That's just a Firstly, I may have misstated something. This number in there is the value of this time chart at that point of time. So that's month 24. So that is 1 at month 24. It was 7. It's currently 1. This number is 8 at month 24. And the red line is the data from the real situation. The blue line is what the software is calculating. And this isn't a piece of absolute genius on my part. This is, if the software doesn't know how to calculate something, it will use what you've put in anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then it's exactly the same, right? So it matches this data precisely because it doesn't, I haven't given it a calculation for this. When I give it a calculation, the blue line and the red line will be different, like it is here, right? This is, I've calculated the problem rate, and the red line is the actual problem rate, and the blue line is the... So whether you're using our software or anybody else's, you should definitely do this. You know, you should see on the same chart, this is what the data tells us, and this is what our model tells us. Yeah.
What's the red number?
The red number is the red line value at that time. So at this point, the red value is 2.79 and the blue value is 2.44. So at every point in time, you've got the match between the two. Other issues I spotted, actually there are one or two interesting things. This group over here has got an intangible, which is reputation. That group over there has got an intangible, which is the trust in the software, in the IT team's ability to do work well, correct?
Yep.
State of mind is a very common stock. Sometimes it's a positive thing, like reputation or morale. Sometimes it can be a negative thing, like annoyance or distrust even. You know, we could have a negative thing called distrust. And normally that's bumping along zero, so there's a zero level of distrust. And what typically happens is that the flow rate is triggered by events. So if Rolf's team over here does an absolutely fantastic piece of software and the release goes really well, and they have a big party with the users afterwards and they say, didn't we do well? The trust level will go up. Right? The event of doing it well fills the trust stock. Over here, we've got staff leaving, so when 5 staff leave, it drops our reputation by 20%. It's a very, very common thing. So don't stop when you get to intangibles. Treat them properly, and that is properly. That's a good one. Yeah, this one brings up the issue that the flow rate is quite often determined by the previous stock in the chain. So this number here will be limited by, you ought to have included a line. So these causal links always mean, if I know the thing at the beginning of the arrow, I can estimate the thing at the end of the arrow. Right? So if I know how many students I've got, then I can estimate what the number moving to become alumni is. Actually, I've got that one. If I know the number of students who were admitted in 2008, I can estimate what the alumni rate, the new alumni rate will be in 2011. So always stick to those rules. These causal arrows must mean I can work out the thing at the end of the arrow from the thing at the beginning. Always mean that. If I see people, particularly beginners, if I see beginners getting into trouble, it's because they put causal links in that kind of don't make any sense. I can't work that out from this. If I can't work that out from this, then I've got it wrong, right? And I need to kind of go back and do it right. So, right, any other questions about what we've done so far? It is hot, isn't it? Okay, well we're going to have to bear with us, because we've got no alternative for the next bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a chance to put your model into software. Now what we actually do in practice, because it's so easy to do, as fast as the team is putting that up on the wall, we're putting the same thing into the software. So you're seeing it immediately, and very quickly, typically very quickly, the team gets to trust what you're doing. You can stop doing it on the wall altogether, and you can do it in the software. Right? That very quickly happens, typically. But only if you do it right. Right? If you do any of these naughty things, they won't trust you. Right? Because it's just darn fast. It just, you can get a very long way very quickly like this. So now we've got this rather complicated bit. We're at step 4 in the process, and we're saying, why did the flow rates do what they did? So we're looking at each flow rate in turn and saying, why did that happen? So the growth in clients was simply a result of taking on the sales guy, was it? Correct. We didn't pick up any from competitors failing. We don't think we got any clients because other clients recommended them. We did take on a sales guy, and the sales guy came back with new clients. Right? So my causal explanation for that is the sales guy. I've now got to explain why it fell, right? But that's another story which kind of comes later. So the sales guy managed to sign up new clients and then struggled to do so. And it's got something to do with those problems over the right-hand side. We've got a reputation problem, but that's a later step in the story. Why did clients leave at the increasing rate they did? So this is my student talking to the CEO saying, why did this happen? Why did clients leave at this increasing rate? Well, says the CEO, I guess this was inevitable. We were getting calls about problems we created for the clients or delays in fixing things that went wrong. It's a nuisance and takes a while to find another provider, but if you've had a lot of problems over many months, you'll probably take a jump. So actually jump to another. So you'll see here, I'll put this 3-month delay in here. So these problems cause a fraction of those clients to leave 3 months after the problem rate. If you want to put a delay in your model, just look up delay in the health system. It will tell you how to do that. So we've now explained that flow rate in terms of that, which arose from that, and that. Right? So the client loss rate reflected poor service caused by overload arising from having too many clients and too few staff. Looks like it, but at least we have a bit less pressure now because we've lost clients. Clients going away has taken some of the pressure off us. So we've kind of partly solved the problem in a bad kind of way. And staff losses were also driven by the high number of clients and too few staff. I guess so. The problem now, though, is that every person who leaves puts more pressure. Right? Every person who leaves reduces the stock of staff, so the pressure stays up, so more staff leave. So we've got this horrible reinforcing loop around here. The more staff who leave, the more pressure there are on those who remain, and then the more staff leave. This can get very serious in some organisations. They can actually kill themselves this way. So here's our solution. Right, I did mention that there's a whole sequence of these models at these links. I think the first one I gave you was so if you start at 302, SDL.RE M302, then you can get into the series and the model instructions will take you forward through the series and you can see the whole story, including the reputation effect, including how you look at policies with this approach. Okay, so what are we doing? You remember that waterfall thing I showed you at the beginning? Start with scoping everything, then do the causal loop diagrams, then do the stocks and flows, then do the then finally get a working model and see if you can find something out. Well, what we're doing here, this is the 4 steps I've just taken you through. Yes, define the problem with that time chart. Identify trace the causality back to the main stocks and quantify their behavior. So what are the stocks driving the performance? And that you get a working model immediately. Within half an hour, you've got a working model of just that little piece. So just that, right? Just that bit. You've just got that little working model. And that is already useful. Then you go to the flows and say, so how are the flows changing? And extend the working model by adding the flows. That is more useful information. Then you go to the what's causing the flows, extend the working model, that's yet more useful information. And because each flow rate is then the next question to answer, you just go back and do it again. Right? And that in essence is the process. So let me just give you a slightly more.
When does it stop? You remember that repetition?
Right. When does it stop? Very good question. If this is the whole plausible boundary of the problem, so this is everything that could possibly be involved, right? So I started with my little chart here, and I worked it back, and I figured out that it's this stock here, which is doing that, and it's this stock here, there's something else going on there, that's this stock here doing that, and that's explained that. So that's the stocks drive performance. Right. Now here's my flow rates. So I say, oh, I wonder what's causing that. I drill back there and I discover that that is actually, this one here is a decision, like hiring or something. But this one here is caused by something happening here and something happening here. And that's caused by that. But this one here is caused by another stock. So let's say this is, let's say this is sales, and this is, that's a good example. Oh, product range. So I think if I launch more products, I'll get more sales, right? But if adding products means I've got to employ more product development people. So there's product development staff. And I discover that's going down, so I'm actually adding products more slowly than I'm dropping products, which means that I haven't got enough product development staff, and I discover that that's because I'm hiring at this rate and I'm losing staff at that rate. I will get to answer your question in just a moment, right? I will get that. And what I figure out is by the time I've done, so where's the red one? Red one. Give him red. So that bit there, that's going round the process the first time. This bit here is going round the process second time. But if I now decide, actually, I've answered the problem, I don't have any more questions. I don't have any more questions. There is the boundary of my answer. Of course, if there are more questions, maybe there's some other questions around here. So why are these people leaving? Well, you know, that's because of something else, and that's because of something else, and actually that's because of something else that's bad here, like I don't know, trading or something like that. And you say actually we needed to do round 3. So that's go around the thing 3 times, and that now is the boundary of my problem. But what we're not doing is we're not trying to extend our arms right out as far as people could conceive might be relevant. We're discovering the boundaries of the problem by drilling out. Yeah, we're stepping out until we've got no significant questions left. There can be feedback in these things, of course. I showed it in the IT case. But we discover feedback, we don't go loop hunting. We discover feedback that really is there. You should always, of course, ask what more may be happening. And what should I change, stroke add to the system? So it may be that you've got a dumb hiring policy of some kind, and what you need to do is put a better informed hiring policy in it. So you're looking at how the system actually works, asking yourself, can I design it better? And if I've designed it better, can I then run it better with some better rules? And this doesn't take, very long. You don't have to go around this process 20 times. Typically 2 or 3 times, and you're basically there. I've never been around it many more than 3 times. So this is a very different case to show a slightly higher complexity. This is a high-tech startup that has had some struggle getting going. And what it does is it makes a little electrical device that you add to a power-consuming piece of equipment. So a refrigerator or an electric heater or something of that kind. And what the device does is it watches the frequency of the power that's coming off the grid. And if the frequency drops, it says the supply network is under stress, I'll turn this device off. Now, what that means is that if the power demand over a day starts at midnight, and it's very low at night because everyone's asleep, and they get up in the morning and have their kettle on, and then they go to work and they work, and then they come home, and then they watch the football, and then they then they watch the football, then they go and turn the kettle on, and then they go back to watch the football again, and then they go to bed, right? The generating network has to have that much capacity. If you fit this device to power-hungry equipment, it basically cuts that off and shifts the demand to stop that peak. And that means that you can have fewer power stations. So because that is very, very valuable to the power suppliers, it means that any company that fits this device to its equipment will pay less for its power. So you go to a big supermarket company and you say, can we fit this device to all your refrigerators? And that will mean that when it's half time in the football, all the refrigerators in the supermarkets get switched off, not for long, only for two or 3 minutes, not enough for the food to go bad or anything like that. It just kind of cycles around and turns the device off for a short period of time. Then when the power supply is okay again, it switches to divide the asset back on. Get the idea? So that's what it does. This company has got sales staff who try and capture customers. So they go and see the jumbo supermarket chain and they say, we've got this great thing, it will save you on your energy bills. Would you fit it to all your fridges? That's the main market, but there are other segments, things like data centers. There are some industrial processes that have very heavy power demands that you can fit this to. Like some industrial uses. So when the salespeople call, you move customers from being potential to being leads. Right? They're not customers yet, but they move one stage closer to being customers. So then prospects. Then when you sign them up, they're actually contracted customers. There's feedback here because if your salesman goes to see Jumbo and Jumbo says, yes, we'll fit it to all our supermarkets, the salesman can then go to the next supermarket chain and say, hey look, Jumbo's fitting it to all their supermarkets, why don't you do the same? So the more customers you've got, the less sales effort it requires to win the next one. All right, that's a nice reinforcing thing. Some of the company's technicians have to go to the customer's sites and work out whether the device is suitable. So they've got technicians in their cars and they drive around to the supermarket, they say, how many refrigerators are there? Yes, we can do this store, no, we can't do that one for various reasons. And that is work, but all it does is, it's called qualify. It qualifies the customer or qualifies the customer's asset. Can we do this? So each new customer brings a stock of potential assets. Anyone know how many stores Jumbo has? Oh, there must be some Dutch people here who know how many stores Jumbo has. 200. Let's say it's got 200. Okay, so you sign up Jumbo. We've now got 200 potential stores. The technicians have said, okay, 150 of those are suitable. And we've now got, so those are potential assets. There are 150 potential assets that we could install our device on. Then the technicians actually go out to the stores and actually fit the device. Right. So technicians have got two jobs. Work out whether they can do it or not, and then actually do it if they can do it. Assets offering the largest saving are installed first. So you go to Jumbo's largest supermarket first, then the next largest, then the next largest. So the value to the customer starts high and then drops for each, the incremental value drops as you install more units. The feedback here is that as the technicians do more of this work, they get better at it, so they can do it faster. As you increase the number of units installed, the unit cost comes down. So the first 1,000 devices cost 1,000 euros, the next 1,000 cost 800 euros, the next 1,000 cost 750. Get the idea that the unit cost comes down? It's called the experience curve, and it's pretty reliable. Okay, profit is revenue minus cost, and you get paid for the energy your customers save. That's how it works. Sorry, that's a slightly complicated story, but it's a slightly complicated case. What I'm going to show you next is the diagram that we did with the management team following this principle. Right, got it? So this is what we ended up with at the end of a morning. We allocated the whole day to this task, but we started at 9:30. By 12 o'clock we got to here, and that was all we needed to do, so we packed up and had the afternoon off. So, what is the objective? What is the thing we want to have happen? Well, clearly we want our revenue to grow. This was the problem, right? And we've got very little revenue. We've got very little revenue, causal link, causal link, causal link, because this stock is very, very low. So if that number is going to grow, we have to have this number grow. Got it? And this stock is the number of devices installed, saving money for our customers. Where does that stock come from? Well, it comes from the stock of assets that we have not installed yet. So this is Jumbo's supermarkets with the device. This is Jumbo's supermarkets that have not yet got the device. So what drives this flow rate, I hear you ask? Right? This is the new dependent variable. Right? That was our first dependent variable. What causes that? Assets multiplied by revenue per asset. I've answered that question. Where does that come from? It comes from this flow rate. Where does that come from? This is our new dependent variable. And it comes from how many units per month our installers can install, multiplied by the stock of people who can do it. But only the fraction of these people who are not doing this other job up here. So it's a fraction of our technicians doing the installation. They can install at this rate, which will move these assets from here to there at that rate and grow that. Okay, with me so far?
Just only the curve is irritating me because the not installed assets should go down, no? And this picture is going up. It's a detail of the...
Right. No, it's important. It's important. So we say, well, where does this come from? Well, it comes from the stock of potential assets that we've not yet installed. Right. Why is this going up? Why do you think it's going up?
Salespeople
More success drives the need.
Salespeople doing a good job and therefore
The requirement increases.
winning more customers, right?
Demand.
So you'll see there's a little green line in here, right? Now that's the actual number of potential assets remaining, and that is the total number including that number. Okay, so that's all of the potential assets I have ever won access to, and all of those in there are now in there. That's what's happening. So, what is going to cause this number to increase? Well, it's going to happen when I get access to new assets. That's going to happen when I sign up new customers. So, at what rate am I going to sign up new customers? Well, that depends on how many salespeople I have and the calls required to turn a prospect into a customer.
Yeah, sure.
So I've got my salespeople who have to decide, do I go and try to convert a customer I'm already talking to, or do I go and talk to somebody completely new? Right? And that's a choice in May. So here's the salespeople. They allocate their time between prospects and negotiating with those prospects. Here's the technicians who are either assessing these assets here, and when they're assessed, they come through and join our potential assets, or the technicians are working on installing it. And here's our staff cost. There's revenue minus cost of installed units minus sales, minus staff cost is profit. Right? So that is the working model of the company. Now, I was asked a question earlier about, can we use this to plan how to actually run the business rather than solve the problem? And I wish we would, and I really wish we would actually build system dynamics models to help people run things better, not come along with a fire engine afterwards, saying, "Oh, I've got a problem. You know, okay, well, I'll help you put out the fire. You know, give me a call next time you've got another fire, and I'll come and put it out again." Right? That is basically been our philosophy so far. You know, we do system dynamics to solve problems. I would far rather we did system dynamics to make the thing work well in the first place. So fires never happen, and fires don't have to be put out. So this effectively is the staffing plan and the sales plan and the budget for this company, all on a single sheet. Now in this case we didn't build the software model actually in the room at the same time, but one of the guys in the team went away and he built the model including all the data over the following 10 days, including all the data. And 2 weeks later he came back with a model where he had copied this whole structure for 4 different customer types that they could sell to. And that's kind of how the method works and why it's so effective. So yes, we have got feedback here. Causal loop diagrams play no part in this process at all. They don't add anything useful here whatever. Just nothing at all. I'm not dismissing causal loop diagrams' value for other purposes in other settings. But if what you want is a working model to answer the problem, I think this is the most effective way to do it. If you had, the other experienced people in the field in this room, they'll probably be throwing rocks at me and stuff. You'll have to make up your own mind whether this is right or not. But it's what I've been doing. It seems to work, and I just encourage you to try. Right? Don't try on something complicated first. Try on something relatively simple. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I want to come back to your fire extinguisher story from just now. Is that a problem of not using it by customers to run business software? Is that something that is a problem of the method, software, or whatever, or is it a problem of the conceptual thinking of companies and we as system dynamicists of just trying to use it as a problem solver? Is it possible? In other words, is it possible to use it as a modeling tool for people getting their to describe their business and to run it?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. There are a few cases where that is being done, but we haven't kind of gone there. We haven't even scratched the surface of the opportunity here. This is such a better way to figure out how to design and run any organisation. This is not just a business. This is for any kind of organisation.
Well, if you let's say compare it with a plant, there is proposed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's there. It's being run by that.
That's right. Yeah, the comment.
Why don't you do it?
Yeah, the comment here is this is just like running a factory, and you've got a control system, a control panel in the control room, and the control system runs the factory, right?